DaniSurname and Hedley's new album has been out several days. I've only just listened to it this morning and I am high on the sound of new music. It's beautiful and I'm going to do a full review. I've got a bunch of stuff to cover, so it's going to be quite quick, so let's go! First of all, the sound of the album. If you've listened to Hedley for a long time, then you'll know that their sound has changed throughout the 7, 8 albums that they've done, and it's changed quite dramatically. And I think this new album, which is called Hello, is totally on that timeline of how they've changed. It's a little bit more electro than the last album. It's definitely electro-pop, which I love. Like, that's my favourite brand of pop music, and it's very different from their old stuff, but it feels organic. I was just now saying to Bryony that this album feels like pop, like Wildlife did, but it feels more like them, which I know is kind of like an airy-fairy thing to say, as, you know, we don't know the band personally, we don't know what they feel like is their authentic sound, but for me it feels more like them embodied in pop, which I'm all for. I haven't bought the album yet, I've listened to it on Spotify, but I am going to ask for the deluxe one for my birthday. So as the regular album reads, it is Lost in Translation, Hello, Quit, Can't Slow Down, Very First Time, I Will, Man Killer, Lose Control, Alive, Back to Basics, and ending with The Knife. Usually with each of Hedley's albums, I have 3 favourites that I kind of circle between. With Famous New Words, it was Bones Shatter, For the Nights I Can't Remember, which is my all-time favourite song, and Brave New World. With Wildlife, it was Anything, Crazy for You, and either Dreamings for Sleeping or Got Love. Hello is no different, and I can at least choose 2 favourites right now, but I'm saving the 3rd slot for when I've listened to the album a little bit more. My 2 favourites are Man Killer and The Knife, which is beautiful. I love the stripped back songs that Hedley does with just a piano and then maybe a crescendo at the end, which is why For the Nights I Can't Remember is my favourite song ever. The Knife is beautiful. I think the lyrics are amazing. I've always loved Hedley's lyrical style. I think and over the whole album, I think the lyrics and the thematic choices that they've made are top-notch, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Man Killer is quite heavily edited, but in a good way. I think it's very telling of the sound of the rest of the album. This album feels a lot more techno-influenced than the last few. I don't have the music knowledge to be able to explain it, but I think if you listen to Can't Slow Down, which I know is available on Hedley's Vivo channel, then you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from with that point. But I think Man Killer is just really fun and really energetic, and a lot of the songs on the album are really energetic. It feels like they've gone for a more dancey, upbeat feel. Wildlife was kind of very upbeat, and I think they were moving in that dance direction, whereas Hello just feels like it's full-on, technologically inspired dance. So far we've had 2 videos from the album, Lost in Translation and Hello, which have been out a while. They came out before the album. Lost in Translation I love. I think the editing is a little off, and I say that now because I'm someone who does a lot of editing, as you can probably guess, but I think the concept itself is great. I think it's really fun that they end up having a queer character in the end. Hedley has a history of being there for queer folk, which I support, just putting in little things to their videos. Before I met them in person in London a couple of years ago, I was really worried that I thought they would judge me for my hair like everybody else in my life did, but they didn't. They actually said that me and my girlfriend Morgan made a really cute couple, and that was lovely. They're there for us. Hello, I think, is really fun. I think the editing is stronger there. It's very cinematic. Jake was one of the directors on it, which, well done, you did great. It looks like it was a lot of fun to make, and it reads as a really fun video. It's with 2 kids in. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'll include all the videos that I mentioned in one of the cards. The other 2 videos that we've seen have been not a lyric, but like a sound video for Can't Slow Down, which I think was beautiful. It was very simple, very fitting with the aesthetic that they've chosen, and also Lost in Translation, which I have to say I didn't like. They chose a font that was near unintelligible, and it very much fitted in with the theme of the song of not being able to communicate with somebody, but I don't think it really paid off. One of my favourite things about the whole of this album is the album trailer, which I forced a bunch of my friends to watch, and I just think is beautiful, it's cinematic, is a great concept. I think it was a brilliant way to kick off the marketing for the whole of the album. It works as a short film, and I think it's beautiful, it's great, it got me really excited, so job well done. Which brings us on to the aesthetics that Hedley have chosen for this album. Hedley choose really great aesthetics. I'm gonna say, just as an artist, as someone who's creative, I love their aesthetics every time they bring out an album. So they had quite strong aesthetics for Wildlife and for Storms, definitely for The Show Must Go, and a little bit for Famous Last Words, which is my favourite album cover. But I think Hello is my favourite overall aesthetic that they've ever gone for. A couple of weeks ago, I got really into glitch art, and then Hedley brought out all the marketing stuff for Hello, and I was like, they're really fun, they're really creative. I think it speaks really well to the theme of communication, especially communication and technology, which is touched upon in the album. It's great, it's gorgeous, the CD looks amazing, and hopefully I get it for my birthday or for Christmas. Otherwise I'll just buy it for myself in the new year. They redesign the Hedley logo every album, and yet again, this one is beautiful. It's very simple, like I dissected it in order to use it for this video, and it's made up of like 3 colours. They've gone for really simple ideas with this album, but executed them really strongly, or found a team that could execute them really strongly. So something that I'm new to, because I only got Instagram within the last year, is Hedley on Instagram. I don't know if it's a new thing for them as well, but it was for me. I've never seen the way that they've marketed on Instagram, and I think for this album, it's been great. They've released little bits at a time, they've released bits of songs, they've released bits of videos, and that's been really exciting. Generally, the whole of this album seems to have been marketed really well. They've shown their aesthetic quite clearly. They've released the music on several different available platforms, even Spotify, so you didn't necessarily have to pay for it, but of course, I'm gonna, because the one disappointment I do have with this album is you released Hello at the same time as Adele. You couldn't have known. That's the one gripe I have about the album. Everything else I'm pretty much yes about. And finally, a summary. If you hadn't already guessed, I love this album. I'm so for it. I think it's amazing. My favourites, The Knife and Mankiller. Don't know about the third favourite. I kind of really like Quit. And of course I love Lost in Translation and Can't Slow Down and Hello, but they were the ones we heard before the rest of the album, which I always think is, can you really count those as favourites if you had more time to love them? It looks beautiful, it sounds beautiful, I'm so excited. The tour is going to be happening soon. It's been advertised as a world tour, but I can't see dates for England. Fingers crossed, I'm assuming they are coming to London, and I really, really hope that they do. I will be going to see them again, because I didn't for Wildlife, which made me sad. So to conclude, just before we finish, I was going to wear my Hedley t-shirt before I remembered I'm probably too big for it now, because I wore this in 2012, and I've filled out a little bit since then. But I would wear it if I could fit in it. I'm going to ask for a new Hedley t-shirt from this album for my birthday. Hopefully I get one. If I do, it'll be in a vlog. I will pretty much just sleep in it for months after I get it. Am I obsessed with this band? You will have to decide that for yourself. Give me an ego boost, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.